All right, welcome back. Best training channel on YouTube. Today, it's gonna be an exciting day. We're gonna be on the track, acceleration focus. The reason why today's exciting is because it's day one of the Combine program. So this next 12-week phase that I'm gonna be doing is gonna be specifically trying to run a fast 40. We're gonna do max effort reps on the bench press at 225 or 102 kilos. I'm also gonna test the broad jump. We're gonna test power clean 1 rep max, and we're gonna do like a back squat or front squat 1 to 2 rep max on both of those. I took the last couple weeks off, didn't get to the track a whole lot just because it was closed. They usually close from like December 20th up until January 2nd or 3rd. Had some time away from the track, had some time away from the gym, just allowed my body to kind of recover, chill out, and prepare for what's about to happen over the next 12 weeks. Today, we're gonna be on the track focusing on short acceleration. I've got a new kind of setup that I'm gonna be doing for my short acceleration days, at least for the next 4 weeks as I'm building up towards my 40-yard dash. So I'm really excited to give today a go and see how it feels compared to what I think it's gonna feel like. But along with today, I'm going to be doing something new. And that new thing is I'm going to be doing sort of a product introduction / review. You guys can see me strapping on these things to my thighs, and what these are called are K-bands. Essentially what they do is they add resistance to the thighs, so when you are flexing and extending, you have some sort of resistance that you have to overcome. Supposedly it is going to help strengthen the hip flexors, the hip extensors, adductors a little bit, depending on exactly what movements and variations of things that you're doing. I get asked a lot about pieces of equipment and different things that people want to try. This was probably one of the top ones that people asked me about. So I decided I would go buy these. They didn't send this to me, and this isn't a sponsor. So I would go buy these and I'm gonna try it out. The only problem is I don't feel like I can give a very accurate review off of one use. So I'm gonna commit to using these for at least the next 2 weeks. So that's gonna give me 4 sessions. So I'm gonna be sprinting twice a week. If I do this for 2 weeks, that should give me 4 sessions. If after 4 sessions, I should have a good understanding on how these benefit, if they do benefit, and then also how I personally would use something like this in a training program if it is something that I feel like is going to be beneficial and would stay within my training regime in terms of equipment that I'm going to use. I'm going to load these things up and start doing some warm-up drills, and we're going to get ready for some acceleration today. I don't know if y'all can see this, but I've got 2 straps that kind of Velcro onto my thighs. I've got a band in the front that hooks onto these little clips, and I've got a band in the back that hooks onto these clips. And what I'm gonna do is basically just go through my A series or my acceleration warm-up using these and trying to focus on really flexing and extending through the hips as I warm up. Blaine. So A walk was the first one. A march is the second one, so essentially the same movement, we're just adding a little bit more intent and putting that foot into the ground. I feel like this left one isn't tight enough. It's sliding down. Okay, now I feel like this right one's not tight enough compared to the left. Cool, this is awkward to put on. All right. Oh, okay, that's better. I didn't have them on tight enough. So A walk, A march. Now we're gonna do some switches. Now we're gonna do a double switch. So right knee will start up. We're gonna go switch, switch. Right knee will end at the top again. Take a couple bounces, switch, switch. So we'll do right leg, and then we'll do left leg. Okay, one thing is, my hips are definitely on fire. I don't necessarily feel it so much in my hip flexors, but I definitely feel it in the glute. I feel like they're lighting up a little bit right now. So we're gonna do a triple switch. This will be kind of our last prep for the A series. before we start getting into some like Excel bounds and some different variations. The bands I have on are the second lightest band. So they came with these ones. These don't feel like anything. The second lightest one, you can feel the resistance, but definitely more so in extension than in flexion. So I don't feel like it's doing much for the hip flexor, but I do feel like the glute is firing, or at least I can feel the glute more as I'm going through those A drills. So there might be something to this a little bit. I thought for sure, because of the resistance with the bands here, that I would feel more into the hip flexor, but maybe you need to go heavier in order for that to be something that you feel. But next up, I'm gonna start doing some short acceleration bursts, more of like a bound, try to over exaggerate extension through those first 2 to 3 steps, gradually build that up to about probably 10 to 15 meters. All right, we're gonna do with the bands on still, because I'm very interested to see how this feels. But we're gonna do 2 5s, 2 10s, and then 1 to 2 15s. Okay, that was very interesting. I feel like the bands are sort of an overspeed when switching. So what it feels like is when I'm extending to this position and I'm about to switch, they snap back hard. It makes me feel like I'm putting a lot more force into the ground than doing this without the bands. But we'll try it again. That felt more like a run than it did a bound. Got to be more exaggerated in those steps a little bit. So we'll do a 10 meter now. I don't feel like it's changing my stride too much, which is good. I still feel like I'm in control and the bands aren't like pushing and pulling me, other than the fact that when I get to like that really extended position and I'm going to switch, it does feel like it snaps back a lot faster. So we'll do 1 15 meter here. So we're doing triple broad jump for today's jump before we get into the acceleration complex. So what I'm gonna do, 3 consecutive broad jumps, and we're just gonna measure out where the landing on that third one is. Hopefully we can stick this and not fall too bad. So that one was 9 meters 45. All right, I've got a total of 3 sets on this. We're gonna try to get to 10 meters. $9.90.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, last one here. That blue cone, by the way, is the 10 meter mark. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on trying to get to. So last one here, 990, I would say it was the last one. So you could argue it was 991, but we'll bring it back just to be sure. Oh, there it is. 10 meters, 21. All right, so what you just saw was the acceleration complex. What I'm doing is a heavy, hard 7 steps, and I want that heavy to be almost like a march. So we're more focused on the force application on that first sled than we are trying to be fast. So load it up, go heavy, and we're going 7 steps because 7 steps is generally what it's going to take to be across that first 10 meters. And if you can get 10 meters in 7 steps, you're probably going to end up running a pretty decent 40. So rather than doing a specific distance, I'm trying to work on a specific number of steps that is going to mimic kind of that early acceleration when we're looking at a 40-yard dash. Then we go from heavy, pretty much only focused on force production, into trying to find that sweet spot where we're marrying both force and velocity. So I went to 40 kilos. I think I'm going to drop that down to 30 kilos next because I feel like 40 was a little bit too heavy. I want that to be faster and more explosive. I don't want that to be like a heavy drag across. So I did the 40 kilos. The next set I'm going to do 30, and then I finished this up with a 15-meter acceleration. What I'm doing differently that I've done before is, like, when I've done contrast sets, I've gone like one straight into the next, straight into the next. What I'm doing right now is I did 2 of the 7 steps. So I did 7 hard steps, took about a minute break, 7 hard steps, took another minute to 2-minute break. Then I did my first 15-meter acceleration with the 40 kilos, took another minute and a half to 2 minutes, did another 15-meter acceleration with the 40 kilos, took about a minute and a half, 2 minutes again, and then I did 1 of my unresisted. So 1 set total for me today is gonna end up being 5 sprints. So if I can get 3 solid sets of this in, then that's gonna give me 15 total sprints on the day, which is gonna be a decent amount of work when we're looking at day 1 of an acceleration. So I'm gonna do the same thing, 80 kilos, and then I'm gonna go down to 30 kilos, and then I'm gonna do an unresisted. All right, set 2 was a much better feeling set. 80 kilos, moved well, did what I needed it to be. It was just be heavy and forceful. The 30 kilos moved faster, which is what I'm looking for. I want that resistance to kind of be that sweet spot where it feels like I'm still running fast, but I have resistance pulling against me. The 40 kilos felt like I was kind of dragging weight behind me. I want that feeling to be a little bit more on the velocity side than on the force side. So what I'm trying to do is marry that kind of sweet spot where I feel like I'm moving fast, but I still have got a decent amount of load on the sled. And 30 kilos felt much better than the 40 kilos did. And then the unresisted was fine. The thing I changed also is I'm going to be doing these from a 2-point stance. I think that's going to be a lot better starting off with for the first few weeks of this training phase. And then as we progress towards more specific prep towards the 40, we'll start putting in some more 3-point starts and getting more specific on that. So we'll keep the heavy sled at 80, keep the moderate sled at 30, and then we'll keep the 2-point starts for each one of those as we progress. And then the last thing we're gonna do today is gonna be some med ball tosses. So I'm gonna do 1 more set, but y'all don't need to see that because you've already seen 2, and it's gonna look the exact same as what you just saw. So the next thing you guys will see is the med ball throws that we're about to get into. But before we get there, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, because it helps me grow the channel. I've got a goal of hitting 15K by the end of the year. I think it's a very doable goal considering the fact that we doubled the channel from last year. So beginning of January last year, we were right around 2,200 subscribers. The end of the year this year, we ended at 5,800. So 5,800, I think we can get to 15K. And I've got some really cool things that I'm gonna be doing along the way as we hit some certain milestones growing up towards that 15K mark. So make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, helps out the channel a lot. Okay, slight change of plans. Today's session is not going to be able to get the med balls in. As you guys can see, there's a football team out on the field running around, which is where I was going to throw the med balls at. So I'm going to have to nix that for the day. But nonetheless, today's session was very fun. Felt good to get my 2-week break done, get back into the gym, get some work done. And then tomorrow we're gonna go into the weight room and start lifting some weights, have some fun in there as well. But I appreciate you guys for watching. Like I said before, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.